So this lesson, we're going to talk about mistake number 3, which is using bad language in your resume. And again, it doesn't mean swearing. It doesn't saying you're the best bleeping burger flipper that ever walked across the bleeping planet, okay? That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is a lot of people really feel awkward writing their resume. Okay? It's embarrassing, it's awkward, they feel like they're bragging, they're really uncomfortable doing it. And so what they do is, whether they mean to or not, they use a lot of language that takes their accomplishments, their achievements, their responsibilities, and keeps them at arm's length. They really go out of their way to diffuse the power of what it is that they've accomplished in their life. Let's give you some examples of this. All right. One of the most common things is using what's called passive voice. And what that means is you're using words like this: able to, capable of, known for, participated in, experienced in. Okay, let's try a quick exercise. Close your eyes. I know, too bad, close your eyes anyways, okay? Close your eyes. Now, I want you to visualize able to. Okay, visualize participated in. How's that working? Probably pretty poorly. You either can't visualize it, or if you do, it's something really lame, like someone sitting around a table in a group or something like that. So these words are an absolute waste of space. You should start off your bullets, each bullet, with a power verb. Something like these here: audited, diagnosed, developed, trained, facilitated. There's a ton of these, created. So all of your bullet points should be starting off with power verbs. Stay away from the wishy-washy passive voice phrases. All of those should be removed from your resume. Next up, don't bury the lead. So we've got to take you back in time, back to time when dinosaurs roamed the earth. There was this thing called the newspaper. Those of you who are younger may not have ever heard of this, but it was this thing that got ink on your hands when you read it, okay? And at this newspaper, there were reporters and an editor. And one of the quickest way to get yelled at if you're a reporter is do what's called burying the lead. And what that means is you would write up a newspaper article on the city council meeting, for example. And you would write it, and usually you'd write it in chronological order. You would say first they did the Pledge of Allegiance, and then they read the minutes from last week. And then, they passed a proclamation declaring May National Fruit Growers Day or something like that. Yada, 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 on you go, citizens' comments. Then at the very end, the 9th paragraph of the story, you would say, at the end of the meeting, the city council debated whether or not to raise the fees for garbage collection in the city by 50%. And then you would duck because your editor would be throwing something very heavy at your head for doing that, okay? Burying the lead means you took the most important part of the story and you put it at the end. In addition to it not being a good place for it, quite frequently, most people don't make it to the end. So the one thing they care about in the story, they never make it to. How does that apply to resumes? Well, let's take a look at a bullet here. All right, what's wrong with this bullet? Utilize spreadsheets and databases in order to cut ordering time by nearly 30%. Well, most people see right away the key part of this bullet is the end. Cut ordering time by nearly 30%. So we want to flip this bullet around. Cut ordering time by nearly 30% by utilizing spreadsheets and databases. Remember, the person is scanning your resume. On that first bullet, they're going to come along, utilize spreadsheets. Great, whatever, and move on to the next bullet. Or even worse, after a couple of these, they're done with your resume and they're tossing it. Okay, look at the second bullet. Cut ordering time by nearly 30%. Okay, that's something a person's going to care about if you're working in an office or working in logistics. Let's try one more of them. Implemented new classroom policies that increase dedicated learning time by 30 minutes per day. Once again, we're running through our resume at 100 miles an hour. Implemented new classroom policies. So what? Don't care. On we go to the next bullet. Okay? Because that's not really that huge of a selling point. Again, look what happens when we put the key thing first. Increase dedicated learning time by 30 minutes per day by implementing new classroom policies. Now I care. If I'm looking to hire someone as an educator, oh wow, they fixed the classroom and end up getting 30 minutes a day extra teaching time. That's fantastic and great. So put the key thing first in the bullet, and related to that, make sure that your most important bullets come first. Again, hate to say this, but someone may toss your resume after the first 2 bullets if they're not good. So if it's an important point, make that your first and your second bullets. Put those to the top. They should be in order of descending importance. All right, another way people sabotage themselves with language is they expect people to figure out what's important about something. So they just simply describe it and expect that everybody will go, wow, that's awesome and great. Well, that's not the way it works. Working with someone who's retired from the military, and one of their bullet points was led a group of 24 soldiers. So I ask people, what does this mean? And the fact is, I ask civilians and they say, oh, I don't know, let him to the bathroom, let him to Burger King, let him in a straight line. Most are being sarcastic, but the point is they don't know what that means. Some will try and take a guess. I don't know, that maybe that means that, he was responsible for them. But the fact is, unless you're in the military, no one knows what exactly lead incorporates. So I talked to the guy, we argued for a bit, and then I said, you know what, unpack that. What exactly did you do when you say led a group? So he gave me we started getting a long list, he picked it out, and when we were done, here's the bullet we came up with. Was responsible for every aspect of a group of 24 soldiers, including their physical safety, training, time management, career opportunities, and logistics. Notice the night and day difference between the first and second. In the first, I have to figure out everything about that. In the second, we're laying everything out for you. You read it and go, wow, responsible for keeping them safe, responsible for mentoring them, responsible for helping them navigate through the military, responsible for every part of them. Okay? It's all laid out in that second bullet. Let's do one more. Here's one from mine. We've talked about it before. Taught GED classes. Again, a worthless bullet. Wow, taught GED classes. That means you did what? You stood up in front of the class, you read to them, you wrote stuff on the whiteboard. Don't know what it means. Lay it out. Taught GED classes at multiple locations, allowing Bates to acquire grant funding. Increased graduates by 84% while decreasing time in class by 32%. Students averaged 6.4 and 5.8 point gains on CASAS reading and math tests. 3.0 is considered significant. Now, first, if you're about to say, wow, that's a long bullet, you're right. This is about as long as I would ever make a bullet, but it's really crammed in there. Okay, talking about allowing Bates to get money, that's cash, people like that. Talk about increasing the number of graduates that we had, decreasing the amount of time they spent in class before moving on to other things. We even said that they increased their reading and math tests. And remember, we talked about jargon. Does anyone know what a CASAS test is? Probably not. So I wrote right into the bullet, 3.0 is considered significant, so that you can see, oh wow, they were double what's considered significant. So this is what a good bullet should look like. Cram it. Make sure that I don't have to figure out why something is important. All right, so we're going to stop. We're done with mistake number 3, bad language. Again, we'll stop, go back through your resume, and look, see if you have any of those wishy-washy words. See if you have any passive voice. See if you've got really important stuff buried deep in a bullet or at the bottom of a list of bullets where no one's going to find it. And make sure that everything that is important to you is written out. We've said it before and we're going to say it another time. It's really important. If it is important enough for me to know it, it's important enough for you to write it out explicitly. Okay? Good luck.